Welcome to today's webinar. Our topic today will be on the 2021 Property Market Index Report and legal perspective of the real estate landscape. To start us off is the the head of Premier Banking, Simon. And before he tells us about where we are and what we'll be getting today, let me introduce myself. I'll be your moderator for the day. My name is Nancy Modoni. I run the property show, but beyond the property show, I run a real estate company called the First Avenue, your real estate partner. Over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Nancy, and dear customers, good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning. We're really pleased to have you today as you join this session on the property index and legal perspectives from a property perspective. As we go into this session, it's very important to note why we are doing this. It's a series of events. If you remember earlier this quarter, we discussed wills and succession planning with Anjawala and Kana. This is the second session or part of this series, and we are going to be discussing properties and the market index as well as legal perspectives. We have brought in some partners from who are part of the ABSA partners. One of them is HasConsult. HasConsult is a partner of ABSA. Over 30 years experience, and we'll have two speakers from HasConsult. Between them, there is experience over 21 years, and you'll be seeing Shazad as well as Masuma shortly. We also have MMC Asafo, a legal firm with 27 years in experience in Kenya. We have the managing partner, Miss Esther Omulele, today with us here. She'll be speaking about legal perspectives and what is happening in the property sector. Why properties and why the property index, why the legal perspectives, and where do we come in as ABSA? I think properties, all our customers, from the feedback that you give us, we find a very important nexus between the needs that you have, the products that we deliver, and the value adds that you have asked for. One of those value adds is to understand the market in which you operate. One of the things that really people really think about when they think about properties is, what is the value of my property? What is the value of the land that I own, probably in Nairobi or outside of Nairobi? If I'm taking up a mortgage, where should I take that mortgage? What is the trend on rents? Are rents going up? Are they going down? In fact, and indeed, we are actually in the pandemic period. Some may call it post-pandemic, but ideally, we are still in pandemic period. We've heard about property prices going down. So where are they headed? Where are they growing? Where are they slumping? Where are they stagnant? I think that's the kind of perspective we expect you to get today from a value-add perspective. When you talk about legal developments, so some of the things that are topical in this area, the recent digitization of lands. And there was quite, just yesterday, there was quite some interesting news around that by the CES for lands. And I wouldn't talk about it here, but you know about systems like AdiSasa, a very revolutionary system to digitize the land system. So you hear more about that. Sectional properties, if I own an apartment, am I going to get a title? Those are some of the things we think you would want to know and get an update on. Something about conversion of titles. There's recent legislation about converting titles from the old regime to the new regime. So you expect a lot of input from MMC around that. But that's not just all. As ABSA then, we have also packaged our products to support you. You'll have our head of mortgage, Mr. John Kaburu, who has over 20 years experience in the bank and is heading our mortgage drive. Talking about the offers that we have from a product perspective. Did you know, for instance, that we give up to 90% financing for our mortgages, and that goes to mortgages anywhere in Kenya? So we'll be talking about things to do with construction loans and some in-depth analysis of how ABSA then would look into your needs and provide the right products for you. In the session, we also have your relationship managers. It's very important that you link up with them if you have any questions, and we'll speak at the end about how you get that linkage to the three experts that I've spoken about. Otherwise, I'm wishing you a very valuable session today and an engaging session. Feel free to ask questions, engage as much as possible. If you're having trouble logging in, please call your RM, call your relationship manager, let them help you get in, and we look forward to engaging with you. Back to you, Nancy, and thank you.
Asante sana. We're going to have a great time. Our next session will be with HasConsult. They'll talk to us about the index and how the index has been created. But more importantly, as Simon has said, we'll get to know the trends that we should be looking out for. Karibuni sana.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And thank you, ABSA, and all the viewers who've joined on the other side as well. So we can start with a brief intro. Masuma.
Hello, my name is Masuma Hassan Ali. I'm with HasConsult and I'm the head of marketing.
So we'll just run you through a brief presentation of the index. This is just highlighting some of the key factors. And we can start the presentation now.
So HasConsult was formed in 1992 and we have been in the industry for 30 years now. It was at a time when the market was a little uncertain and skeptical about property investment. And so due to this, we realized that we needed to address a huge pain point in the market. And so HasConsult started with the core values of trust, integrity, and transparency. Values that are still at the heart of the organization today. We've got a variety of services ranging from development consultancy, sales and lettings, to property management and valuation. There are also some innovations that have been unique to HasConsult that have shaped Kenyan real estate. One of our major introductions was the pioneering of off-plan sales strategy for new developments. This was initially considered dicey, given the mistrust that had plagued the industry for years and the very traditional mindset in Kenya for purchasing ready property. But with our backing of a reputation for trust, we successfully managed to introduce this off-plan structure, creating a system that has since become the name of the game in the industry. In 2007, HasConsult began facilitating joint venture developments between landowners and equity financier developer partners. Despite previous growth in the property industry, advances in property development were being hindered by lack of prime land, as existing landowners were unwilling to sell, yet unable to develop, as well as increases in land costs requiring high capital investment on the part of developers. To overcome this, HasConsult began pooling together landowners and equity partners by facilitating joint venture developments that HasConsult would manage in its entirety. This created a platform for networking key resources. So a little bit about the Has Index. In October 2009, HasConsult launched the very first property index in Kenya. And this till today is used as a tool to provide investors, homeowners, the financial industry, and consumers with information about house price inflation and trends. This platform has really helped people make informed decisions in the housing market and enjoy the best possible returns. This index was the first successful move in Kenya to capture actual property price movements and has emerged as the key reference point in the Kenyan property market. In January 2015, HasConsult expanded its indices by releasing the country's first land price index, reporting land price trends since 2007 in Nairobi suburbs and all its major satellite towns. We believe the index has also helped us all to understand far better the Kenyan real estate market, the urban residential market, and by extension, some of the dynamics within the Kenyan economy. While publishing some market movements such as downturns may not necessarily be in the best interest of an estate agency's immediate bottom line, our belief is that the best decisions are made with the clearest possible information, and it is by working to flag what is rising and what is falling, and that most can be done in ensuring funds are directed towards the properties that are currently most needed and most sought. In making substantiated decisions, opportunistic moves and speculation within the market are erased, thereby reducing risks of severe cycles.
Thank you, Masuma. I'll just take you through briefly what the index actually had to offer in Q2 for 2021. Please feel free at the end of this as well to go to our website, government portals, news portals. The index is released there and open for all. So to start off with, we'll look at the land index, for instance. Nairobi in the last quarter saw an increase of 0.3%, while the satellite towns surrounding Nairobi saw an improvement of 1.1%. Primarily the stars of the two was Nyari and Ngong. Nyari basically because of the accessibility and the new installations of the highway, like the Link Road and the expressway, which is now coming up. And Gong was one of the highest rises, in fact. Main reason being huge chunks of land were now being subdivided and sold as smaller portions, and increasing availability and, of course, profits for the sellers as well. Moving on, we can have a snapshot at how the index actually laid out. So as you can see, the quarter, Nairobi towns went up by 0.33. The annual change was a 0.41, and it was a 2.33-fold from 2011, so 10 years down the line. Nyari had both the largest increase in the quarter and the annual land prices, as we can see here. As I mentioned, that's because of the new expressway and the link road that has come through. Similarly, once we go to the satellite towns, Thika had an increase. This was primarily because of developer curiosity surrounding the areas, so demand seemed to be higher. But Gong actually, if I'm not mistaken, had the highest growth rate in 6 years. What basically seemed to have happened, the older generation would keep large chunks of land as their wealth. The new generation that's actually inheriting this now prefers to subdivide it, so things would be of 5 acres would now be subdivided to a quarter or an eighth of an acre and sold out. So there's mass availability, and anyone and everyone can get a piece of land in Gong right now. Moving further now, we can have a look at the heat maps. This is showing for the last 10 years what the increase has been around Nairobi itself. And as we move on, we can see the satellite towns as well. So the satellite towns as well, Juja had the highest fall there at 4.40, and Kitengela following right behind it. Moving on forward now to the property department of the index. The 3 highlights here. The property prices in Nairobi actually was stagnated and had a very mild drop of a 0.1%, sorry. Kilimani recorded the highest drop in prices of 9.5%, while Langata town had an increase on the annual basis of 10.3%. As we can see in the next slide, it was basically and primarily about the type of houses people are looking for during this pandemic. For example, Kilimani and Kileleshwa were experiencing an oversupply of apartments, and as such had to yield and drop their prices down. And that's what credited to the price drop as well. Langata was the one that posted a 10.3% increase, driven by affordability, as Langata currently posts some of the cheapest houses and properties to buy around there. As we move forth, so yeah, as a snapshot, we can see the property types that were there over the last 10 years. And just looking from 2011 to coming now, property prices have increased steadily over the years. The few dips we've had have been during political years, post-election violence, and of course, COVID, as it is right now. Next, we can move forth to the annual changes again within the property types. The 4 to 6 bedrooms, for example, currently should be in the market at an estimated price of 38 million. Similarly, 1 to 3 bedroom properties are going for an average price of 13.2 million. But as we can see from the graph itself, the mix adjacent of both properties combined still shows a growth, a steady and constant growth when it comes to the property market within Kenya. Moving on now to the rental market. Sorry, okay, before we go there, this is just a brief snapshot of what's available to the Kenyans out there in the market currently. In 2011, for example, apartments had only taken 23.5% of the market. And in 2020 now, apartments are looking at about 58%. And currently, we're looking at about 53% of the market being dominated just by apartments, as there is an oversupply. Now we can move forth. Thank you. So as we go to the rental quarter, there has been an improvement. Nairobi's had an improvement of 1.1%. And we have a slight pause now for the glitch. There you go. Detached homes saw an increase in demand. This could be, one of the factors could be due to the pandemic. People wanted a bit of distance, a bit of greenery and space around them. And Riverside saw a high decrease in the quarter of 2.8%. Again, this was primarily due to the oversupply of apartments that are within the Riverside Drive area. Again, we can see rents have increased exponentially over the last 10 years and since the index had actually started. So property prices rise 0.25 in the last month alone, and the rise of 1.1% in the last quarter, and a total annual rise of 6.6%. And these rentals have increased 4.23-fold since 2001. Going forward, we can see the type of rental properties that were out there. An average rental property has gone from 38,500 shillings in December 2000 to 162,000 in June 2021, which is an exponential rise. Similarly, we can have a look at the rental prices for the 4 to 6 bedrooms and the 1 to 3 bedrooms as well. Moving on, we see what is now currently being rented within the market, and as previously noticed for the sales, the rental is the same. Apartments have flooded the market. December 2020, apartments took up 62% of the market, and semi-detached houses only took up 27.5%. And this seems to be the norm going forward. As we move forward, we can have a look at the investment cases for now. Yeah, Masuma, you can start us off, please.
So how do we make the market work for you? So thanks to the index, we're able to determine by area what the market is looking for and is available in scarcity. What's high in demand and low in supply is what we create to meet the need of the market. As we just saw, the index indicated that there's a high saturation of apartments in certain areas like Riverside. Yet on the contrary, we have a product offering called Riverside Square. But this actually taps into the market gap of offering mixed-use developments that are actually scarce. This makes it high in demand because of a unique product offering. We're a year to completion, and yet we are almost sold out, which attests to our findings in the index during project conceptualization. Another factor is a consistent rental return and annualized capital gain. Real estate investing is about building on wealth creation, and the returns have to be aiding this financial goal. So it's crucial to have a consistent rental return and annual capital gain. If this goal is not met, then your real estate won't work for you, and on the contrary, it may work against you. Everything in real estate is about location, location, location. Assessing upcoming road infrastructure and how that could potentially change the area dynamics in terms of accessibility and value. We've seen a dramatic change just in Nairobi alone with planned and ongoing road infrastructure. And this opens up a world of opportunities for pockets that were previously neglected but are now becoming prime. In cases like this, timing is crucial because supply is low and demand is high, and that's when buyers can maximize on great opportunities to enhance wealth creation. So we're going to go over to a few case studies that Shazad can go into detail about.
Thank you, Masuma. As we can see, the land performance versus commodities over since 2008 shows you steady and constant growth when it comes to land returns. Similarly, as we'll see in the next slide, if we're not just comparing with the commodities, with other asset classes as well, Nairobi and its satellite towns, land always seems to come on top of it because the returns are phenomenal and there is that stability and sense of security that's in there. Moving forward, we've got a few case studies, and what better than to showcase our case studies where we can be critiqued and we've got data to back the facts about the projects themselves. So we recently launched Crown Jewel in Westlands, located right behind Sarit Center. Westlands is saturated with 2-3 bedroom apartments around the area. And as Masuma had mentioned, it's about the gap that's there in the market. So the supply gap, the answer gap that was there, is 3-star plus bespoke living, in a sense, offerings within that area. Especially as an investment case for Airbnb, there's a scarcity. So if you did want the fine-end living, you would have to go to, say, hotels like Sankara, Movenpick, and so on and so forth. So with this development, there is that gap where you can have 1 bedrooms, 2s, and 3s as an Airbnb, and yet have all the amenities as if you're living within a resort, whether it's an investment or you're living in there yourself. It's a platinum location. It has a 4-year payment plan, which makes it easier, especially given the current environment that we are in. Off-plan prices, as always, will be cheaper. It's the best time to invest when it's earlier. Second investment case is, again, due to the 4-year payment plan. So you can spread your payments out and do not feel the strain within the environment that we have. The unique offerings which sets this aside, as I mentioned, is the 3-star plus living standard, it's bespoke standards. We have penthouses on this level, which are of 1 bedrooms, 2 and 3, which is unusual within the Kenyan market. Plus rooms, as COVID has taught us, a lot of things have changed and people are working from home. So you'll have the 1 bedroom plus and the 2 bedroom plus. You can have as a study or as an office itself. Backed by proven developers, 20% gains after 2 years, and it's just been over 3 weeks since we launched this, and we're already 17% booked or sold. So we've got another case study. This was Altura, located near Nairobi Hospital. So similar concept to the 1870. There was a market gap for high-end living within that area of accommodation. A lot of us in Nairobi, myself included, when it comes to medical attention, would be leaving Nairobi and flying out to either Thailand or India or any other country. Yet Nairobi seems to be the hub for a lot of countries within Africa. And Nairobi Hospital's current developments within that area make it the prime location for medical tourism. As such, Altura came forth. If you can move to the next slide. And Altura bridged that gap as an investment case. The Airbnb concept, again, within that area exists for medical tourism. So this is just a snapshot showing you the returns that you'd get for an unfurnished or furnished apartment within that area. And again, Altura, we're still a good 5 to 6 months away from groundbreaking, and we are already 65% sold out. The last case that I've got there, if we move to the next slide, please, is Inaki. As the index has just shown, the highest property rise, land rise, within Nairobi area was for Nyari due to the expressway. And thanks to the index and the guiding of that, 2 years ago we launched Inaki just in Nyari. It's a unique opportunity. It's actually a residential resort, 22 acres plus. 6.2 acres have been dedicated to greenery, keeping with the environment and breaking the norm. So this was targeting the empty nesters that live within the area, diplomats, who would be, for example, single people living in a 3 or 4 bedroom house, yet would have to leave the house to go and access, basic amenities, supermarkets, or just relaxation. So Inaki offers you a lifestyle. Apart from what's listed there, the botanical gardens, zen pools, mini golf, you have exclusive to the residents spa facilities, sports bars, libraries, gyms, and basically you'd not have to leave the area to go get anything else. And again, this has been proved and backed by the data as we're seeing the rise in Nyari that's coming forth. If you could move to the second slide, please. This is just the investment case showing 40% gain over 5 years. The rental yield per annum is coming to 8.5%. And again, for furnished, 10% per annum. Moving on swiftly. We tend to break the mold as well in certain areas and developments where we have the luxury live-in collections as well. We cater for all sorts of clientele. So as you can see, the first image on the top left has not even been marketed much. It's more of a word of mouth kind of marketing for the niche clientele. Those houses go for about 150 million and are draped and designed by Armani. So we do cater for the top and the high end as well as providing investment opportunities. And these are all, again, based on data and facts. To the next slide, please. And here we can see how investment collections are customized and made for the client, to fit your needs and your requirements. Whether you buy from us or not, please take some time out, have a look at the index. It will guide you and assist you in making better decisions, hopefully, when it comes to real estate and investments. So thank you so much.
Send in your questions. This is the hour we've been waiting for, where we'll get insights on how the sector is working. I'll kickstart this second session with a question to each panelist as they introduce themselves. How do you see the real estate market unfolding, and what should we expect going forward I start with you, John.
Good morning, and this is a great time to have this conversation. As the market index has shown, we are on the verge of the next wave of the cycle. We go through recessions, then we move into recovery as we go into expansion. So it's a big opportunity for us to talk to you, our clients, and discuss what opportunities lie as we move forward, and our position as ABSA, how we come in and support you. Thank you, Nancy.
Esther, our legal expert today.
Yeah. Good morning, ABSA clients and viewers. It's a pleasure for me to be here this morning and to speak about a topic that is very dear to me. Real estate and the property is what I have done for the longest time since I started my practice as a lawyer. I'm the managing partner of MMC Asafo, and one of our key practice areas is real estate. We also have worked very closely with ABSA for probably about 17 years now. So in that journey, we have interacted with a lot of ABSA clients through mortgages and also with a lot of real estate developments. So to your question, Nancy, one thing I've seen about the real estate sector, particularly in Kenya, is that it's been very, very resilient. So despite the times that we find ourselves in, when COVID came about, all the developers were worried that, sales would drop and, that perhaps they would have to stall their developments. But what we have seen, particularly when it comes to homes and properties that are, affordable. Let me call it affordable, but by affordable I mean within the range of, say, below 5 to about 20, is that those sales are still ongoing. It's very vibrant. It remains to be vibrant. A lot of it is funded through mortgages. So I would say that it's vibrant. And in terms of how I see this going forward is that if from a perspective of a developer, I would say I think this is the time to build stock and so that then as the market, as we get out of the COVID and as we get on to the elections and after that, then you can have enough to sell. When we listened to our earlier speakers, as they spoke about the property index, there was mention about sectors where there may be a glut. But I believe there's also opportunities elsewhere, both within Nairobi, but also outside of Nairobi. So, the counties around like Kiambu, probably Machakos and that sort of thing, there's opportunity there. So look wide, look here, but also look externally. The opportunities are there, and I would say that real estate is still going to be a big contributor to where we invest our wealth. Thanks, Nancy.
Over to you.
So real estate, I think we can definitely back this up, because real estate is an asset class that is generally low in volatility, which means it's a lot more stable in comparison to other investment options. Because property is a long-term decision, it's often insulated from short-term shocks. And we actually found a few interesting dynamics. The dynamics had changed when COVID came in. Because there was a working from home structure that formed, we found people were interested in looking at properties that could accommodate working from home situations. We also noticed that because when COVID happened, we noticed that people wanted more financial security, so that they could be protected from unprecedented times should they arise again. So that was a really interesting thing. So we remain completely confident, as we always have, that property will always be one of the best investment options.
Shazad?
As we can see already with the panel, everyone is in agreement about investments and when it comes to property. So having had a bit of experience internationally, apart from the Kenyan market, we're noticing similar trends during this year throughout, on a global scale. For example, Dubai. I know Dubai's recently published how their high-end properties are selling out. Rents have gone up, fortunately enough. I can even say it on a personal level. I know the rents have gone up there. 22 properties were sold within the last 6 months, each property being $10 million or above. That is the highest sale they've had, I think, in 6 years, or an increase. The UK, we're in double figures for increase when it comes to land price and property prices. And then, of course, when we come to Kenya, we as Kenyans, we are resilient, we are strong, and we're stubborn. We are optimistic. So we've seen the same thing as the index has shown. Ourselves can vouch for it at HasConsult. We have seen sales, last year being one of our best years in terms of sales, to be honest. Only thing that has changed, we've become smarter. So we're buying smarter. We're analyzing data. We're taking our time. We're narrowing down our options. Instead of vaguely going, I want in Westlands, we now get clients coming with specific needs and say, I want in Westlands, I want a 2-bedroom plus study, close to this road, close to this facilities. So people are getting smarter. And in a sense, it is the best time to buy. As we've seen prices in Kileleshwa and Kilimani, the apartments were forced to drop their prices down. So prices are low. It is a buyer's market in a sense out there. And it's actually a great time to be purchasing, yeah.
Esther, give us the legal process when one is buying a house. They are saying now we are buying houses, everybody is buying houses, and it's interesting during this time I want to concur with you. Indeed, sales have been very beautiful, but Esther, take us through the process.
Okay, I will try not to be very detailed because I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm speaking to a very well-informed group of clients. So really, I would say, I think the first thing is you need to start with HasConsult or, the estate agents, so that then you can identify, and they have the ability to tell you what's good, what makes a good investment. They have the knowledge to analyze and tell you what will give you the best return. So I think that would be a good place to start when you're looking for property. That said, then the next thing is, once you've identified that property, you need to do your due diligence to confirm, ownership, that it's free of encumbrances, that it sits on a property that is not on reserve, that the developer is, particularly where it's an off-plan purchase, that the developer is one who will start and complete the project, so that then you don't buy off-plan and then you're stuck with it. So the best place to get some of that information would be with lawyers who have expertise or who have dealt with several developers. So they would know what to pick, how to do the due diligence, and what information you need before you proceed. Then the next step is on the contracting stage, where you sign an agreement that should be well negotiated, and then you move on to the titling section. Now, should you require a mortgage, then after or at the point when you're doing due diligence, simultaneously with that, you should contact your banker, because then your banker will then assess the property that you're buying. They will tell you whether they're able to fund it. A lot of times it depends on the outcome of the due diligence, as well as your ability to repay the facility that you're seeking. So so then in that whole process, by the time you're getting to titling, then you're certain that your property will be fully funded. So the message there is try as much as possible to work with experts, starting from the estate agents to lawyers and then to bankers who've done this many times over.
Asante sana, Esther. Please send in your questions. Let's interact. Let's hear, what would you like to hear from our experts? John, let's talk about the mortgage outlook. How do you see it unfolding?
Thank you, Nancy. Last year, when COVID came, of course, it caught everyone with a surprise, a few months, and suddenly industries, economies are shutting down. And what we saw initially was, of course, a withdrawal, including from the investors. And as an industry, we also faced now that uncertainty from what we were looking at. But as ABSA, we went back to the market and offered our customers reprieve as far as repayments were concerned. we gave an offering to all our customers, those who were facing challenges, to come forward. And we got a number that we were able to support. On the mortgage side, we had about 50% of our customers taking it initially. Then we went through that phase that customers were able to survive through that time, and we came back now to where we are today, where you're seeing an expansion and people are resuming those discussions that they had. Initially, we also relooked at the sectors that were likely to be affected. For the sectors that were not affected badly, we were still able to support. But where we are today is where there's a lot of reopening of the economy. The vaccinations are taking place across the economy. There are upward indicators, as the index is showing. So as ABSA, we are there. We have revised how we are going to support our customers, because with the expansion that is coming and what is happening, we have opened up the options that we are giving our customers. And allow me to mention at this stage that we give you options. Whether you want to buy, whether you want to build, we can support you. As the detached houses need has increased, people are coming more for construction. And you know, in Kenya, all of us own a plot here and there, and we hope to build it one day. Good news is that we are there to support. And for the customers now, like in our premier segment, where they have already owned their homes, but you find they will need a second home, a third home, either as an investment or just supporting the generations that they have of children. So on additional properties, we are giving you quite a number of options. So in a nutshell, we are giving you options for you to consider, and we are here to support.
Shazad and Masuma, let's talk about the red flags. A lot of us, when we are buying property, for some reason, we get into it and then we realize we missed one step. Let's talk about the red flags when investing in real estate. Over to you.
So I think one of the first things to ask yourself is, what do the structural bones of the building look like? A lot of the times people oversee this step. And it's a very, very important process, because a large chunk of your money is going into the structural bones of the building. And if it's not built well, you may think you've seen a show house, it's absolutely beautiful, but two years down the line, when you're living there or when you're renting it out, you have a lot of management problems. And so the first thing to do is to look at the structural bones of the building and whether it's been built with great materials. Another thing to look into is brand credibility and team expertise. A common misconception is that if we look at the developer, that's enough. But actually it's not. It's not just the developer. Especially the case of first-time developers. The people you need to look at is the architects, the structural engineers, the consultants, the quantity surveyors. Many times the developers themselves are only financing the project, but it's actually the team building it, so it's a really important step to look into. Another one that's really important is the building that was conceptualized. Was it backed by data, or was it backed by or was it assumption based? You know, it's extremely easy to make assumptions based on what other people are doing. But often that could work against you. If a development isn't backed by data analysis, by market analysis or data on supply-demand trends and upcoming property prices, you might find yourself in trouble. So always go with developments that are conceptualized using a scientific approach, and it's not assumption-based. I think Shazad has a few more things.
Thanks, Masuma. So she's covered most of it anyway. But yes, do look at the team as a whole, not just the building or the house or the show home. So for instance, when you're going in and seeing show houses, ask what is being given when I purchase my unit. She mentioned about the team, from the developers going to the architects. The whole process has to be taken into consideration. As Esther mentioned, the legal side. You could go find the most beautiful house, and your legal team was not strong enough and has given you trouble. It leaves that sour taste in your mouth, and the whole process becomes a bit negative instead of positive. And this is a home that people are buying, or an investment that people are buying. Looking at locations, for instance, what's coming up? What's the planned developments within that area is another one for red flags. Accessibility, see how accessible it's going to be. The last thing you want is you buy a beautiful unit on the 5th floor, and when you look out, it's covered by another building or road structure. So those things, future developments, again, are certain red flags that you'd look out for. And as she mentioned about data, see what the data is within that area, what the projections are. So come forward if you ever do plan to sell your unit or your investment, you know you're going to get those returns. So, yeah.
I think, Esther, you can add to that.
Yes, let me just add about approval. Yeah, I think what you have mentioned is key, and it just reminded me that another key thing would be the approvals that relate to that development. So, starting from the county approvals for the development, where the architectural and building plans, and as well as the mechanical, and all of those plans have to be approved. So have those been approved? You need to cite that. Then there is the environmental approvals as well. Before any development commences, there's a requirement that the NEMA issues approvals to confirm that indeed the development will not impact the environment negatively. And where they find that there could be any negative effects, then they dictate certain things that need to be done by the developer to ensure that then the building or the development fits into the environment. So I just thought that I should add that because it's very key as well.
Let me add and say that if you're buying property, do not use the developer's lawyer. That's another big no-go zone. A lot of people, when they're buying property, they are convinced by the developer, just use my lawyer. That lawyer for the developer actually supports the developer. He has nothing to do with you. So get your own lawyer on board. Let me take another question with John. John, what options do customers have when it comes to real estate? We have mortgage, we have project finance, we have property construction loan. What are the options, and how does that work?
Thank you, Nancy. To our customers through our branches, and for this particular session, through our relationship managers, the first thing that we give you is access to our financial and financial expertise. From a financial perspective, Esther mentioned a bit of it around ability to support the project that you're about to undertake. So your relationship manager will take you through the cost that you're likely to incur. They'll take you through the time frame. They'll take you through the other considerations that you need to put into place. Because we appreciate for premier customers, at some point, most of the investment, most of the property deals will be part of your investment journey, part of your investment plan and financial plans. So you'll be looking to get that sound advice before you undertake the exercise. So financial expertise, but we also offer you options. I've talked about buying an extra home. We support you with that. And for buying, we have one of the best long durations. We can do up to 25 years, but you may look to building your own home or an additional home. If you own the plot, we allow you to come to us, and we can finance up to 20 years, 100% financing, while on the purchases we are at 90%. For construction, we can do up to 100%. But there's also another option that is very attractive to customers. You built your own home. You built your own home about 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you invested a lot, and you want to undertake an additional project. So we allow you to do what we call an equity release, and you can ask your relationship manager more about this. So suppose your home is currently valued at 30 million or 40 million. We can do 80% of its value, and we free that as long as you're able to service that facility to undertake an additional project. So that equity release allows you to use all the value that is locked up in that property, and you extend that to an additional, adding to the portfolio that you're having in your investments. But there's also another option we give you as our customer. You may have borrowed from another bank or another source, and you feel, in comparison to our offering, right now we are offering you at 11.9%, which is quite competitive, and you find you may be doing your current mortgage at 13.75, or even 14, you can do the mathematics and do cash flows. Because remember, it's all about your cash flows. Cash flows is the liquid measure. It's what dictates how much you have to use. And when you do the mathematics, you realize you can actually move that mortgage to us. We'll take it over at 11.9%, and that frees extra capital for other things in your monthly plans. So those are some of the options we give you at ABSA. And our relationship managers, the branch managers across our 85 locations, they'll be available to do that.
Esther, give us a high-level brief on AdiSasa portal. What is it and how is it unfolding?
Okay, yeah, so AdiSasa is a product of digitization. In 2018, there's a task force that was appointed by the CS, Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, Madam Farida Coronel. So she appointed this task force, which then was asked to look at the various laws that deal with land, starting from physical planning to survey and to land registration, and to propose changes or regulations that would then be enacted to support a digital platform. So historically, all land transactions have been done manually. We started off from when titling was commenced in the early years of colonization. What happened then is that the titles would actually be handwritten. They would be handwritten, very nice ink writing and signed off by the governor then. And then so subsequently, then we got into titles that were typed. But then in terms of lodging and signing of documents, all of that was done manually and presented manually. So with advancement in technology, then it came a time when digitization became necessary. It is necessary that we go into digitization. So that task force then, working with the ministry, came up with regulations and amendments to various statutes that have enabled the launch of a digital platform. So in April of this year, AdiSasa was launched. I think there was a lot of media publicity around it. And really what this AdiSasa is intended to do is to allow transactions through or digitally. And the effect of that is to enhance efficiency and to also do away with possibly the interference with records, because when records are manual, all it takes is for a document to be misplaced or to be removed, and then you cannot transact with that. But with a digital portal where all the information is keyed into the system, then you can trace back the history of property. You can even transact from one department to the next, like let's say you want to do a change of use or a subdivision. The process starts with physical planning. So if there's a link from the physical planning, which is under the county government, to the director of survey, which is the second step where the mapping and the cadastral information is developed and stored, to the land registry, then movement of information is not by hand. So you don't have a clerk carrying a file from Survey of Kenya with a deed plan and delivering it to the registrar, who then looks at it and has to trust that indeed it is the one that left the Survey of Kenya. All of that information is transmitted digitally to the Ministry of Lands, and then they can effect the registration. So the platform is up and running, and if you could just project that slide, please, so that then the information on how to register is visible. How do you register on that portal, and then what can you do? So what I can say is that it's user friendly. It has started in Nairobi, and the information I have is that it will be rolled out to the rest of the country. It may have initial challenges in terms of, just how does it function and all of that. So initially you may experience those challenges, but I believe that it's a good thing, and eventually when it is fully understood and when it is fully rolled out, it will be something that will enhance transactions, land-based transactions.
Let's talk about sectional titles. Right.
Now, sectional titles, now, I think there couldn't be a better time to talk about sectional titles than this time. When we had our first session on what properties have been developed where, one of the things that the HasConsult team mentioned is that there's lots of apartments that have developed over time. And the Sectional Properties Act the first Sectional Properties Act was actually enacted in 1987. We didn't have good uptake at the time. I think it is a statute that was not well understood, but it had its challenges. The 1987 Act had its challenges because it could only accommodate properties that were registered under what we called the Registered Land Act, CAP 300. So CAP 300, when you look at where do apartments develop, a lot of them develop in cities or urban areas. Most urban areas at the time were not titled under the Registered Land Act. So for you to use the Sectional Properties Act of 1987 to register your property, then you needed to convert from the Registered Land Act to let's say the Government Lands Act or the Registration of Titles Act to the Registered Land Act for you to do that successfully. So because of that, then it wasn't very attractive, and developers and lawyers and their clients then devised a different way of registering titles in respect of properties that are within a shared building. So when you think about sectional properties and why it is key, it is because there are times when you cannot subdivide a property. So if you have a block of apartments, there are 20 of them, they sit on one parcel of land. So how do you achieve subdivision of that parcel of land so that each person is titled, including the person who is on a floor other than the ground floor? So Sectional Properties Act, therefore, deals with the titling of parts or sections of a building. So the way it works is that when the building is complete or about complete, the surveyor prepares a sectional plan. The sectional plan takes into account the geopositioning of the plot, that is the ground, and also the position of that unit. So if it's on third floor, for example, they are able to collate data as to the exact location of that house on whatever floor. So that as opposed to previously where we did long-term leases and we would attach a plan on it, which is prepared by an architect and which is then delineated in red, showing that I am buying a property on the third floor and it is called apartment number, let's say 3A or something like that. Now we have data that is produced from survey that clearly delineates and identifies the specific property in respect of, or by taking cognizance of the ground. So there is the ground coordinates and there's the in the air or aerial coordinates that then speak to the exact location of that house. So that if you do a search at the lands office and then you do your due diligence at the survey office as well, you'll be able to tell, or the person with the expertise will be able to tell the exact location of that unit. And why that is key is, think about a developer who has built in, say, South B and has block A and B. Think about another one who has built in Kilimani and also has blocks A and B. So the one in South B, if you're on the third floor, your house is likely to be house A3. The Kilimani one is also likely to be house A3. Now, when those building plans are registered and they're submitted to the Lands Office, if you're then looking for the data for the South B property, how do you tell whether this is a South B property or whether it is the Kilimani property? So the Sectional Properties Act have come about to resolve that sort of challenge so that then you can identify your unit. It has unique identification, both as far as the title is concerned and far as the georeferencing for that particular unit is concerned. So this is the titling then will be done by, it starts with surveyor who then does all these coordinates. That approved sectional plan is then submitted to the county for approval, and then it goes on to the Ministry of Land where the sectional titles will be issued and the mother title will then be collapsed. So I hope that's not too much information.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions I'm getting now is, what's your take on the affordable housing program? I'll ask it in two ways. From the HasConsult perspective, as a private developer, how are you seeing that area playing? And as Esther, as a lawyer, I would like you to give us an overview of the affordable housing program from the government's perspective. And John, you will tell us how are the mortgages, and are there people buying, and how is your relationship with KMRC? Over to you.
Okay, thanks, Nancy. If I may start with the affordable housing, I know initially, having dealt with clients in the market, a lot of people think this is primarily government-oriented or government developments. As you mentioned, the private sector is involved in this. Has, for instance, yes, we do have houses for 150 million, but at the same time, we have houses for 4 million, 5 million. They're going to generate returns, primarily because we're working off-plan. So affordable houses are spread across everywhere. We've seen in brackets, for instance, where a lot of mortgage buyers in specific areas have a key figure. So houses below that price, banks, institutions such as ABSA is facilitating, giving them mortgages or financial assistance in a sense. And they've come and capitalized on that particular sector. But yes, the demand does seem to increase. We have a development where it's in 3 phases. And between phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, which has just been a year, we've had to change the type of houses and the topologies to accommodate the demand for as they said, the affordable 2 bedrooms and 3 bedroom houses and bungalows. And yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of them are getting financial backing and mortgages and coming through to secure their own interests, where they don't have to remove a lump sum and be at risk. Yeah, Dr. Masuma, did you want to add anything to that? Good.
I think you've pretty much covered
Yeah.
it. I think we as HAS try very much to accommodate all kinds of segments and all kinds of markets. If you look just at Enaki, or just at our new project, let's talk about 1870 West, we try and the prices go from 8 million to 28 million to accommodate different people. So it's definitely something that we look at quite consistently.
Esther, on the private, on the government side, what's your take and how is that unfolding?
Okay, so the definition of affordable housing from a government perspective is slightly different from that of private developers. So for government, when they talk about affordable housing, they're talking about houses that are priced between 1 and 3 million. And then for the private sector, I think it's anything from about 4 million going on, and going on to about perhaps 15 or 20 or thereabouts, yeah. So how is it that government is able to achieve the 1 to 3 million? So what happens is that, first of all, why is it necessary? It's really to ensure that Kenyans are housed. Those of us who've lived here all our lives or long enough know the need for housing in Kenya. So that then is key for government to provide housing to its people. So what then government is doing is where they want to achieve those sort of prices, then we have government both at the national level and the county level providing land at a concession, so at no price really, to private developers who come in, and so the price or the value of land is then discounted from the cost of the project, and they then are able to achieve the prices that I mentioned, 1 to 3 million shillings, and they build and they can sell. So far, these projects that have taken off. There's some that are complete. There are Kenyans who've actually owned property. The intention is to spread that to other counties as well. Just yesterday, I was in Nakuru, and the conversation was around how do we do affordable housing, so that then they can house the people of Nakuru. So and then how those projects are structured, because again, the development is by private developers. There's a requirement that a certain part of the development be priced at between 1 to 3, and then the developer is also allowed to build what they call commercial units, but still affordable, and the pricing there would be from maybe 4 to about 12 million shillings. So still quite affordable for a lot of Kenyans. Now, who qualifies for the 1 to 3 million is very limited, because your wage has to be between up to 150,000 shillings. It's got to be your first house. Yeah, because remember, what is the objective? The objective is to house Kenyans. And then beyond that, if, like perhaps our audience for today, what you would qualify for is what my colleagues talked about, the next level of affordable, which is from about 4 million to about 12 million. So that's what it is. And I would say, I think the other thing I can add is that it's very popular. Affordable housing is extremely popular and has sold very, very well.
And very fast. Over to you, John.
Thank you. So from an affordable housing perspective, ABSA plays it in a number of ways. And just to comment, it's documented that we have a shortage of more than 2 million homes in Kenya. And that definitely, one of the challenges has been affordability, so hence affordable housing. So as ABSA, we joined KMRC. We were one of the founding banks, shareholding in Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, which supports primary lenders to support the mortgage agenda. So we are shareholders there, and already we are in discussions to see how we can support our customers in that lower range of 4 million and below. So it's an area that we are already exploring, and very at the last stages of that. But back to now, the solutions that we offer as a bank. One, as I talked about, is affordability. We make it easy for our customers by giving you a long period to repay your loan. So if it is for a purchase, we can do up to 25 years. If it is construction, we can do up to 20 years. And what that does, it allows you to pay lesser over the period. But we also give you the option that if you have extra money, you can always put it into the loan. It's on a reducing balance basis, meaning you shorten the term and you reduce the interest that you'll incur overall. So the longer term and the solutions that we offer, they allow you to afford your home. But we also have another angle to it, and that could talk two ways to you, this segment, is we also finance through business banking and corporate banking. If you have an investment, probably you're doing a block of flats or gated community, and you've done all the other legal work or groundwork to make it easy for someone to buy. Through our commercial and investment banking team, business banking, we can finance those developments, and we're already doing it in this market. And then besides supporting the developers to provide the affordable houses, then we come in and support the end user financing. So that's an avenue we use. The other aspect we have is we have developed solutions that support employers. Some of you could be in organizations that are able to put aside some funds to support their employees access financing on mortgages. So we give schemes which are funded that support your employees You could be in finance or in human resources or the CEO of a company, and you think that that's something you want to solution for your employees. Our mortgage team can support your company develop a funded scheme for your employees. So those are the avenues we are currently using to support the affordable housing initiatives.
I'm now getting your questions. One question, is there a report with information on the properties available in Nairobi? The answer is yes. The property listing is circulated monthly through your Premier Banking, RM. The second question that has been sent to us is, does the aspect of sectional properties affect the market index, especially during election period? I'll get an answer from you, and maybe Esther can add something.
Should I take that? For now, as we say, we take data on a broad spectrum. So when we're looking at sectional properties, as and how the law is coming into effect, as Esther was in fact giving a wealth of knowledge, we ourselves are learning as well what's going on, because there seems to be a bit of slight confusion. As of right now, we've not focused on just that. The main primary focus, as was shown, was in Gong Town, where land was now subdivided, and it was easier to subdivide, which is on a flat level, for instance. Going up in an apartment case scenario, as you said, with the coordinates and everything, we've not taken that into consideration, but our team is already prepared. That's something that's going through, and we are running some test phases, which of course after the webinar, I'll be picking Esther's brain for those as well, but I'm sure she can add a lot more to that question.
Okay, so now the Sectional Properties Act we have now was enacted in December of last year. That's now the new version of the 1987 Act. Now, what's currently ongoing is the preparation of the regulations that will enable the implementation of the Sectional Properties Act. So the regulations, it is expected, will be up and running in the course of this year. They have been drafted and they've gone through the various stages, but there's still a bit to go. You know, the process of lawmaking is you know, it takes due process. So that's ongoing. I'm aware they've been drafted, and as soon as they have been enacted through gazettement, then I think that's the time you can begin to just talk about the impact, but I expect that it will be positive. Reason being that for Sectional Properties Act, under this act, what you get is not only, you don't get a long-term lease, you actually get either a title deed or a certificate of lease, which is what most Kenyans are familiar with, yeah.
Perhaps you can add something from the bank's perspective.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the property listing. If you went to a website, www.absabank.co.ke, under the borrowing section, if you want to look for a property, we have listed a number of properties and we continually refresh that offering. So we have developers and housing real estate agents that we deal with. We do an understanding of what they're working on, and we provide that for you. So besides what your relationship manager can give you, you can always check out on our website and you'll get some options there.
As we're getting closer to our closing, to close this session, one of the things we have learned is that while the real estate market remains resilient, it is largely a buyer's market. And I'll ask my panelists from HasConsult, just give us a flavor of areas that we should buy. I know you had mentioned, just give us a flavor of 2 or 3 top areas that anybody can buy today.
One of them would be Westlands. We launched 1870 in Westlands. There's another product called Escada as well. Westlands is the second commercial hub in comparison to in Nairobi. Actually, to be fair, all of our developments are in prime locations, and that's what differentiates us a little bit. We use our Has index. So all the developments that we have at the moment are based on prime locations. We've got Upper Hill, we've got Westlands, we've got a bit of Lavington, we've got Nyari. So if you were to look at those areas, those would be the prime ones in Nairobi, definitely.
Perhaps Esther can now close the thread by just giving us a flavor of the affordable houses that you have seen, like the Park Road, Nakuru, how that is going today.
Okay, right. So I think one of the things that is very interesting is that they sell even before ground break. At least 30 to 40% sell before ground break, and by the time perhaps you're done with the shell and core, you fully sold out. So like the Park Road, which is a government project, I'm aware is fully sold out. It is complete, or they're in the process of snagging, and then it will go into titling, so that's fully sold out. There's another one known as it's urban housing. It's done by a company called Technofin. I know that as well. At least the first 2 blocks are done. They're now going into 3rd and 4th and 5th block, and then they'll be done with our project. There's another one called Unity Homes, all the way in Tatu City, that as well. I know they've done phase 1 and they're moving on to phase 2 as well. So all of these are affordable units. There's another one called Maisha. It's in Tilisi, somewhere along Gong Road there. So there's plenty of opportunities, particularly if you're looking for affordable housing. As I said, I think it's good to look far and wide and see what the options are. Speak to the experts, who'll tell you where you get your best return. Yeah, so that will be my take.
And as the roads open up, maybe you can mention about the roads. If you're going to Tilisi, right now the roads look a bit, they're under construction, or you're going to Mombasa Road, the roads are under construction. This is the right time to buy, because tomorrow the roads will be ready for us to go. Maybe you can add on that.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructural development. If you look at the connectivity before and connectivity going forward, like if you look at, as Nancy said, this Wayaki way all the way up to Nakuru, I know and up to Maimahiu, actually, I know the road will be dualed. I know even the contract has been awarded. So when you look at that and the opportunities, there's so much more that you can get both within the city and out of the city as well. I am sure very soon that HasConsult will be heading up that way towards Limuru side and towards Kiambu and Ruiru and Machakos as well, because that's where the opportunities are in terms of land availability. If you look at Westlands and what is there, and even the cost of land, one of the reasons perhaps it's much harder to achieve an affordable house is because of the cost of the land. But if you move outside of the city, which is where a lot of our population is now resident, and provided we have the connectivity and the transport system works, then I think there's opportunity for our developers there and our homeowners as well.
Asante sana. I would now take your last comments before we close this session. I'll start with you, Shazad.
Thank you, Nancy. And firstly, for starters, I'd like to thank everyone and the ABSA team for setting up this platform, and for everyone else who's joining. I think it's actually quite refreshing. Not only do the viewers learn, but we learn as well from the knowledge and everything that has come forth. Be brave. Take, as people say, it is risky. Take calculated risks. Know what you're investing in. Look at areas. As Esther mentioned about moving out of Nairobi, I won't disclose, but we have already acquired quite a few locations that we'll be expanding to. But the future is bright. In roadworks as well, it looks bleak now, but it will be bright. The traffic will reduce. But yeah, invest wisely, and let's pray and hope that we come out of this together and stronger.
Masuma?
I think personally for me, real estate, I'm very passionate about real estate. As you know, we've been in the market for 30 years, and throughout all these unprecedented times, we've always come out strong, because real estate is really one of the best investment asset classes, like I said before, because of the stability of it all. So even though right now we're in COVID, we're in unprecedented times, we don't really know what the future will be like. We never do, even without COVID. but real estate is continuously on the rise. So if you look for an opportunity, if there's an opportunity, there's always an opportunity around for real estate, especially with the roadworks that are happening now and the accessibility in Nairobi alone. This is always the best time to buy. It's always going to grow. So climb up on the property ladder.
Esther, what's your final take?
Yeah, so I agree with my colleagues on the panel. Just to add that there's so many opportunities. So what I would like to tell our listeners today is that do not rush when you're buying real estate. Make sure you get it right, yeah? Go through due process, take the steps, because the house will be there tomorrow. And we've heard today that it's a buyer's market. So take your time, find what best suits you in terms of an investment, and then go for it. Also, we also have now lots of comprehensive developments that are coming up. So I think that's another opportunity where you find, there's a mix of users. So I think those are interesting, because what that does, it affords you an opportunity to live within a development that also has other facilities around you. There could be retail there, there could be commercial space, there could be industrial. So it affords you an opportunity to live within an integrated community where you don't have to do very long commutes. So maybe that's something else we can talk about another day. But all in all, we are all very passionate about real estate as Kenyans, and I would say, let's keep investing.
Your final thoughts, John?
Thank you. As your partners in managing your wealth and building your wealth, we appreciate that ultimately you're looking to more passive income coming in through your stream. So in supporting your financial goals with our relationship managers, our branch managers across the country, we'll support you in this journey. And as I said, we have options around your home solutions and also investments from a real estate. If you are in commercial property, we can finance you. You have a block of rentals. We have up to 15 years financing for you. The interest rates are fantastic. The loan term is among the most competitive. As I said, for purchases at 25 years, construction 15 years. If you are in real estate, rental income, we can do up to 15 years. If you are constructing, we can support you 100% on the personal side. So the options are there, and we encourage you to get in touch with your relationship manager or get in touch with any of our branches, and we shall support you in that journey. So that's it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. My take are 5. 1, take calculating risks. It's a buyer's market. The second one, the future is bright. The third one, invest wisely. The fourth one, follow due diligence, work with a lawyer. And finally, ABSA has solutions tailor-made just for you. Over to Simon as he closes this session.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And indeed, mine is to just thank the panel. Thank you, John, from our own ABSA Bank. Thank you, Nancy, for moderating this very well. MMC team, we really appreciate. And then we also appreciate HasConsult and the work that you're doing. Just to mention, HasConsult and MMC are also customers of ABSA, and we really pride ourselves in partnering with our customers in everything that we do. Dear customers and dear colleagues, we really appreciate the time that you spent with us. Really useful and valuable information on the property market as well as legal developments in that sector. We've seen a couple of questions come through from the chat. We are going to be sending the presentations to you via your emails. Your RM is also a very important point of contact, because then they will share with you the video recording of all this. You'll also get the material, whether it's from HasConsult or MMC. If you need further details, we've seen people who want the property indexes and also property listings. We have that internally as ABSA, and we also have partners that can share. So if you need that, please feel free to speak to your relationship manager. I think one more important point is at the end of the webinar, you're going to see a survey. That survey is extremely important to us because it lets us know whether this session was useful and to what scale it was useful. it also informs us what other areas you'd like us to cover in upcoming sessions. As I mentioned, this is a series, not a one-off. It's a series. We had the first session on wills and successions planning. Now this was on property. In October, end of October, you're going to see something else on investments and also the economic outlook from a Q3 perspective done by our very own ABSA Asset Management team in conjunction with Premier Banking. All in all, please do the survey. Make sure you give us fair comments, give us fair feedback from the way you see it. It helps us a lot to improve and give you more value. Otherwise, thank you very much. Have a good morning, and we appreciate you and see you next time. Thank you.
Please make those payments and take dinner out the freezer. Enjoy your day off.
How was your day?
Great.
Did you pay the bills?
Abby did it.
And the plumber?
Abby did it.
Send money to your mom?
Abby did it.
Who's Abby?
Bank on WhatsApp with Abby, your 24/7 digital personal banker. Another digital innovation that gets things done. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Did you take dinner out the freezer?
Meet Abby, your 24/7 digital personal banker. Let Abby make payments, buy airtime, and check your balance for you on WhatsApp. Another digital innovation that gets things done. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Yeyote unataka kumake dream zake zikam true, tutawak na wewe kuzitimiza kwa urahisi. Hii ndio Africanacity. Hii ni ABSA.